Picture this. It's late. You're lying in a dark room. The only light is the harsh, cold glow of a screen reflecting in your eyes. You're scrolling, clicking, searching, and then you're closing tabs in dead silence. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're staging a psychological intervention. We are doing a brutal, unapologetic breakdown of a modern habit that is living rent-free in your head. We're talking about orgasming without porn. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We are going to tear down exactly what is happening to your nervous system when you are alone in that dark room.
Let's be real for a sec. Was it actually pleasure, or was it just overstimulation? The scary part about this whole thing is that most people literally cannot sit alone with their own thoughts anymore. We've totally blurred the line between genuine pleasure and frantic overstimulation. We think we're chasing physical satisfaction, but plot twist, maybe you were never addicted to the pleasure. Maybe you're just down bad for the nonstop visual stimulation. This explainer is going to completely reframe how your overstimulated modern brain processes desire. Think about it like a roller coaster with no drop. When you're thirsty, you drink. When you're horny, you take care of it. And obviously the goal is climax, because doing all that without reaching the end is just frustrating. But here is the kicker. Try riding that roller coaster without the intense, pixelated crutch of digital content. Suddenly you're hit with this awkward boredom. Your internal monologue starts acting up like, wait, why does this feel different? Why is this suddenly so difficult? Without the screen, you suddenly realize just how dependent you've become on the overload.
Section 1. Reversing the brain rot. Mental versus visual stimulation. Which brings us to our first major uncomfortable truth. Your brain has high-key forgotten how to experience natural desire without a constant, dizzying feed of novelty. On one side of the battle, we have the mind. On the other, the screen. You might be wondering, if I don't use porn, what on earth do I even rely on? The answer is your imagination. I know it sounds kind of cringe in an era of endless AI content, but relying on your own creativity gives you absolute main character energy. It forces a deeper connection to your body. Meanwhile, the screen, that's just doom scrolling. It's visual shackles. Relying entirely on porn turns your dopamine system into a spoiled iPad kid, just endlessly scrolling for the next cheap hit. Choosing your mind doesn't just save you money on those monthly subscriptions, it genuinely frees you. So let's break down the actual science of the numbness. We're talking about desensitization. It's a decreased emotional or physical response to sexual stimuli over time. Here is the brutal brain chemistry at play. When you expose yourself repeatedly to extreme visual content, especially content that gets increasingly bizarre because the old stuff just doesn't hit the same anymore, you are physically altering your nervous system. This is exactly why normal, everyday life suddenly feels totally numb. You set your baseline for stimulation so artificially high that reality literally can't compete.
I'm going to get real serious for a second, because the cost of this extreme content is absolutely not a joke. We are talking about diminished natural arousal. We're talking about erectile dysfunction. We are talking about a severely decreased satisfaction with real-life intimacy. Chasing those bizarre tabs at 2 in the morning is actively destroying your nervous system's ability to function in the real world. You are trading your real-world satisfaction for a cheap, temporary digital escape.
Section 2. The dopamine reset. Pleasure versus addiction.
We're about to go straight down the deep rabbit hole of the brain's reward center. If you've been sitting there wondering why absolutely everything in your life, not just sex but literally everything, feels so boring right now, look at the overstimulation loop. Step 1, the act naturally triggers dopamine, your brain's pleasure chemical. But step 2, overindulgence, especially with endless digital novelty, massively overstimulates that reward system. And then comes step 3, the devastating bleed over. Your brain desensitizes to everyday pleasures. This cheap dopamine loop is so aggressive that suddenly eating your favorite food or listening to your favorite music just feels totally hollow. Your brain's reward center is so exhausted from the hyperstimulation that normal joy doesn't even register anymore. The real psychological trap here is that the screen doesn't just act as a substitute, it actively accelerates the addiction risk. Why? Because you become completely reliant on hyperspecific, intense visual stimuli. A massive 40% of this risk is literally just chasing novelty. Another 35% is compulsive behavior, doing it just to do it, just to feel anything. And 25% is creating totally delusional, unrealistic perceptions of sex. Doing this without the screen lowers the risk because it forces you to stop chasing that artificial novelty. But wait, it gets weirder. The alternative is basically a complete mental cleansing.
Taking the screen out of the equation offers your brain and body a desperately needed chance to recalibrate. It is a true dopamine reset. When you rely on your own mind, your reward system slowly starts to relearn patience. It starts to respond to natural internal arousal instead of panicking because artificial pixels aren't flashing in your face. It's like your brain is finally detoxing from the hyperstimulation. Your internal monologue shifts from frantic searching to, bro, my brain actually feels calmer without the screen.
Section 3. Revitalizing real intimacy. Healing the nervous system.
We need to talk about the most devastating impact of all this. How doom scrolling completely hijacks your ability to connect with an actual, living, breathing human being. I'm dropping this quote from neuroscientist Andrew Huberman on you right now because it hits like a ton of bricks. He says, if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it's not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else. Let that sink in. On-screen arousal fundamentally breaks the wiring you need for real-world intimacy. You're training your brain for a spectator sport, not a participatory one. So the crucial takeaway here is this radical identity shift. Skipping the screen and letting your mind do the magic. It means facing the quiet. It means ditching the visual overload and doing the hard work of engaging your own imagination. Look, I know it might feel totally foreign at first, and your brain might literally scream for its digital pacifier. But if you can push through that awkward boredom, you can reverse that distorted view of intimacy. You can take your nervous system back.
Which leaves us with a massive, uncomfortable truth. Has overstimulation completely rewired modern sexuality? Have we traded deep connection and natural desire for cheap dopamine and brain rot? I want you to really think about this. Challenge yourself tonight. See what happens when you cut the cord and just sit in the quiet. Drop your thoughts in the comments, debate this, because this is a conversation we absolutely need to be having. Until next time, stay curious and take care of your mind.